Dr. Keela, it is Super Bowl Sunday, and so we are going to procure some nutrients to sustain us throughout this contest. Do you have a prediction on the score, Dr. Keela?
No, I don't have a prediction on the score. I don't dig that deeply into it. I am just rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles so that they will bring the trophy home.
Starlight, California skyline. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride.
Dr. Keela,
Dr. Eubanks, my Morehouse brother.
what doth it do? How you doing, girl?
Doing great on this Super Bowl Sunday. How about yourself?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Ready for Saquon and them, Jalen Hurts and them. You know, Philadelphia, where we went to medical school. We're ready for them to make it do what it do.
Yes, I am. I'm not hating on the Chiefs the way you do, but yes, I'm definitely rooting for the Eagles.
Am I hating on the Chiefs? Did I say
I think
anything
you
that
said
implied?
that there are multiple Super Bowl wins. I think you equated that to a reign of tyranny, as you put it.
Yeah, I respect excellence, and they are excellent. I'm just tired of them winning everything, but I never want somebody to win 1,000 times in a row.
Okay.
But
Kind of
we're
like
gonna bring it.
the Patriots did back in the day. People kind of got fed up with them winning all the time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. In addition to not liking, the Patriots to begin with, even though my cousin played for the Patriots, Sam Bam Cunningham, who was a running back who actually played for USC.
Did
Have
he
you
play
heard?
for the Eagles also at one time?
I'm not sure if he played for the Eagles, but no, his brother, Randall Cunningham, was the quarterback.
Okay.
But Sam was his big brother. Randall Cunningham, his mama and my daddy's mama are sisters. All right. And Sam Bam Cunningham was an All-American running back at USC who came down here and ran all over Alabama and Bear Bryant and embarrassed Alabama, which in essence forced the SEC to integrate because my cousin came down here and ran all over them and embarrassed them. That's a true story. They did an ESPN on it. I already knew it in the family anyway. So, yeah, rest in peace, Sam Bam Cunningham. Changed the face of football. He hadn't
Well,
passed too long.
Booker T. Washington had a quote in his book, Up From Slavery. And the quote was, "The world will have its best." So clearly your cousin, Sam the Bam Cunningham, was the best. And
He
his
was.
couldn't be ignored, which, like you said, changed collegiate football because Bear Bryant was like, I need to get my own version of Sam the Bam Cunningham. These guys are good.
Yeah, real talk. Real talk. Alabama is like it is today because my cousin, Sam Bam Cunningham, ran all over their tails. All right? So we want Jalen and them and Saquon and them to win. And for those that don't know, Dr. Keela and I went to medical school in the great city of Philadelphia, brotherly love, Queen Lane, in Germantown, which is where we went to school, lived on Wissahickon Avenue, and then moved up to the main line. If y'all know about Philly, y'all know about the main line, right by where the Adams Mark was and all of those things. But, I digress. Dr. Keela, what you been up to, girl? I understand you took some good trips recently.
Yeah, I just came back from a visit to your home state of Tennessee, where yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Where you go?
Later this month, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to feature Fawn Weaver for Black History Month. So I decided to take that drive up to Shelbyville, Tennessee, to visit the Uncle Nearest Distillery. And let me tell you, yes, it is definitely worth the trip.
Okay. Oh, there's so much to unpack here. Tell us about Fawn Weaver. Who is Fawn Weaver?
Well, she is the sister who has set the spirit world on fire. And by spirit, I mean adult beverages. So she found out about the history of Uncle Nearest Green. His real name was Nathan Green, who was the master distiller who taught Jack Daniels about how to make whiskey. And Jack Daniels, of course, is one of the most well-known whiskey brands in the world. So at any rate, she decided to bring forth that history And within just a couple of years, has taken that brand from just being local there in Shelbyville, Tennessee. She ships to all 50 states and to multiple countries. Her company is now worth $1.1 billion.
Okay, Fawn Weaver, let me hold something,
Yes.
girl. Where you at, Fawn? Let your boy hold something.
Listen,
Fawn balling, isn't she?
yes, and they are poised for even more growth. So I would definitely go back and visit again because they're going to expand the property. But it is absolutely beautiful to look at. Also, you get a bit of history when you first go into the parlor. I don't want to give away too much because I want people to actually go. But every bit of the decor, it's very well appointed, and there are historical reasons for why they chose the way they decorated the parlor. And you get that video with Jeffrey Wright, which I'd already seen, but the vibe they create just makes it more special when you watch that. We had a tour guide named, what was his name? Xavier Northcutt. Really interesting guy, did a great job. The grounds, like I said, are beautiful. We went to the barrel room, and man, it smells really good in there. You
What
just
does
have
it
to
smell
check
like?
that out. Very warm. There's a little tinge of like a sweet aroma. So yeah, you've got to do this. And then the restaurant, the Humble Baron, has the longest bar in the world. It is very impressive. And man, their chicken wings are always, if you
Hold
go,
on
you
now.
got to get some chicken wings.
Hold on now, Kela. I just want to make sure that I'm hearing things correctly. You go to Uncle Nearest and your drink is going to be right. And you can get some bomb wings too?
Yes.
That's Tennessee all day. I know you've been to Tennessee. You have just confirmed that you've been to Tennessee. That's what it is. That's what we do.
Yes. Well, they are doing it at a high level, just like your cousin Sam the Bam Cunningham. I mean, it's just undeniable. Now, I will say this, I'm a wine girly, and so I'm a bit of a whiskey lightweight. We got to sample 4 of their whiskey brands. My 2 favorites were the 1856 and the premium. That premium is 121.2 proof. So that was a little much for my my shy little palate. That is for a big, strong, grown man.
Working on the railroad.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a female chauvinist pig here, but yeah, that premium whiskey is, whoo, it is
That
strong.
premium was rough, huh?
Yeah, it got the back of my throat like that. Yeah, I literally made that sound. But all the gentlemen who were part of my tour group, they down their shots with no problem. I left a little in each glass, shot glass.
Did you bring any bottles for your male friends of 30
Did
years?
not. My male friends can
Look
purchase
how they
their
do you.
bottles when they go up there.
Look how your friends do you. Look how your friends do you. But that said, I'm glad you had a good experience. Did you feel the spirit of Uncle Nearest up in there?
I absolutely did. In
You
the
did?
visitor center, they have multiple photos of his family members. And so, yes, you do feel that spirit in there. And they went on to become very accomplished folks. So it's a great story about people coming together, actually. I think before Fawn Weaver got involved, the narrative was that Jack Daniels had stolen from Nearest Green and who was a slave and all of that. And actually, no, that's not what happened at all. Jack
Break it
Daniels,
down.
yeah, Jack Daniels was the youngest of like 10 children. So, and he was the runt, literally the runt of the family. His mother died soon after his birth. So he was sent to live elsewhere. And there was this preacher who had a side gig of selling whiskey. And Jack Daniels had gone to work for this gentleman and noticed the wagons going back and forth and the smoke coming out of the hills nearby. And he was very curious. So he went to check it out and met Nearest Green, who taught him how to distill whiskey. And then, eventually he got old enough to purchase the distillery, and the rest. Well, the rest of the history I'll let you find out when you get there. But he actually respected Uncle Nearest because this, Uncle Nearest's method for making Tennessee whiskey was unique, and it was brought over from West Africa.
Okay. So when you say he respected him, did the respect extend to breaking off some of the ducats?
Yes, in a way.
That's all. That's the only respect I know.
So let me tell you how that went. Eventually, Uncle Nearest got to an age where he retired. Jack Daniels wanted Uncle Nearest to continue to work with him. He said, "No, I'm going to retire, but what you're going to do is work with my sons." So that was the relationship. The Green family went on to become prominent.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, as long as they got something out of it. Do his descendants, do they have any equity in the company at all? Do you know anything about that?
The woman who tastes the whiskey to make sure it's perfect is a descendant of his, yes.
Okay. So for those that don't know, Dr. Kela is a board-certified family physician with a distinguished career. We went to medical school together. But in her second act, she's become an author and she's become a teen girl advocate. She is the author of Nia and the Numbers Game. And what is the second half of that title, Kela?
It's Nia the Numbers Game, a teenager's guide to education, relationships, and sex.
Dr. Kela has taken on an advocacy role for young adolescent girls, particularly Black girls and girls of color, but it extends to everybody, every girl who are facing a period of transition. Would you say that's correct, Kela?
Sure.
That is, I guess, the greatest period of transition is between changing into an adolescent, right?
I would
for young
say
ladies?
it's actually adolescence, changing from a young child into a young adult. So the adolescent period. It's
The
that
adolescent
transition.
period,
Yeah.
which Dr. Kela has addressed in resounding fashion. I will say that I have personally purchased at least 3 to 4 copies of the book, one of which I gave to my teen daughter at the time, which she loved. She's now in her early 20s, and everybody that's read the book has loved the book. Kela, tell us what that book is about and what inspired you.
Sure. The book basically is about the title character, Nia, and it follows her from middle school, that adolescent period, through high school, college, med school, and into her young adulthood, because that's that transitional period that I was talking about. And so all of the things that teenage girls will experience, relationships, that having crushes, the kind of tug of war between young girls and young boys when they like each other and they are dealing with their hormonal fluctuations. Maybe the boy wants to take the relationship to the next level. We know what that means. And the young lady is considering it, but isn't quite sure, because how will that affect her reputation and what are the risks? I deal with that. Some young ladies in the book decide to go through with engaging in sexual activity. Some don't. Also dealing with changes in friendships when you go to different colleges and maybe start to grow apart a bit. Also dealing with family issues. So all of the things that a teenager will experience, I address in the book. And I made my book format a bit of fact and fiction. The story about Nia is fictional, but what she goes through are factual. And at the end of each chapter, I come in and I have a section called Let's Talk. So for example, in the first chapter, Nia's menstrual cycle comes on while she's at school. And at the end of that chapter, I talk about the menstrual cycle and educate young ladies about it, and even have a little quiz to test their knowledge. So that's what I'm doing with the book. Now, it was inspired, believe it or not, by my patients. Several times throughout my career, I've had moms bring in their teenage daughters to see me when the mom discovered that the young lady had lost her virginity. And so there's a lot of tension between them. And what I would find out upon questioning a little bit further is that the mother and the daughter really hadn't discussed the consequences of sexual activity. It was more so, oh, just don't do it because it's a sin. But there was no further discussion about, well, how do you deal with those feelings? How do you deal with handling, let's say, social media, for example, because kids are influenced by that. So I wanted to provide a manual, if you would, the kind that most of us didn't get growing up. I mean, believe it or not, the birds and the bees talk. Here I am at my middle age. My mom still never had that talk with me. Thank God I had a father. My dad, actually. Thank God I had a father who went to college and who was forward thinking for a man from his generation. And so Dad was the one who had the birds and the bees talk with me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Kela, I will say your book has been extremely well received, and I'll tell y'all, it is so well written. And it is not, as Dr. Kela alluded to, it is not just about physiology. It's also about decision-making, relationship decision-making, and also how to pick colleges. All right. See, these are things like, particularly if you come from a family and your parents have never been to college, they don't have a way to counsel you on how to approach choosing your next level of education. And there's a whole chapter in there about decision-making. In addition to a place to write, with blank spaces, these are my top colleges, which, like I said, really helped my daughter out. You know what I mean? So, congrats to you for actually doing the work, Dr. Kela. I understand
appreciate
that.
The support, Taj.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to buy me some more copies of Nia and the Numbers Game. You know what I'm saying? Because Nia is that girl. You understand what I'm saying? But Dr. Kela, I understand that word on the street is that you may be actually working on your second book. Is that true?
Yes. Now, my second book is going to be a bit of a departure. I am going to be writing about my family, actually. So one of my uncles has taken on the role of being like our family historian, and we've been able to trace our roots back to the 1700s. And so there are a lot of interesting characters, yes, in my family. So that's what I'm working on next.
That's amazing. So, Dr. Kela, you're writing, in essence, a historical epic on the Henry family.
Yes.
Okay, from what I understand, if you're from the twin cities of Columbus and Phoenix City, the Henry family is not to be played with. Is that correct?
Trying to make my family sound like a bunch of gangsters.
Are the Kela, are the Henry family to be played with?
No.
Okay. I'm just saying what it is. But clearly, in the Henry family, education was extremely important, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay. How did you, also, Dr. Henry, in addition to being a marvelous family physician, is a graduate of the Spelman College. Is that correct, Dr. Henry?
Of course. You know it is.
What year?
Okay, you're trying to be cute. 94.
The illustrious, hey, it is what it is. I'm from the Olympic class of 1996, and I tell anybody who's willing to listen, from that, beacon on the red clay hill in Georgia, Morehouse College, but who's keeping track? Martin Luther King, Spike Lee, Edwin Moses, a whole host of other people, P.J. Morton, Walter Massey, Otis Moss, Kevin Johnson. But that's not.
Sounds like you're keeping track. But
yeah, we're not keeping track. You understand what I'm saying? We're just not going to do it. Okay. That said, Dr. Kela, what, you were at Spelman College, which obviously I personally love Spelman College. I minored in Spelman College, actually.
Well, that makes two of us who love my alma mater.
Yeah. What lessons do you take in your daily life today, Dr. Kela, from Spelman College that you carry out into the world?
That confidence, unshakable confidence as a Black woman, because I think we unfortunately live in a world, a culture, and a country that often tries to assail our confidence in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is knowing that everything is possible. And that's where I got the idea for my T-shirts on my website, the Everything is Possible T-shirt by Dr. Kela. And on the front, there's a star. because I think of us as stars in the sky, and on the back are a list of all of the possible things, the careers that young women could aspire to. So,
I
yeah,
love that, Dr.
there are no limits.
I love that, Dr. Kela. So when is this book going to be hitting the shelf?
I don't have a date for when it'll be hitting the shelves. My goal is to finish it by the end of this year.
Okay. Can I get a signed copy, Dr. Kela? Because
of course,
as a friend of 30 plus years, I will be one of your first customers, and I will be buying multiple copies so that I get grandfathered into the Henry clan.
Well, we got to see about that. I mean, we do have a history of adopting folks who prove themselves worthy, but we don't let just anybody in the family, right?
It's a very exclusive club, right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Dr. Henry, I do want to ask you this. What do you recommend? We're not going to get political on People Street, but I will say the times are impossible to ignore. What do you recommend as a clinician also for people who are fatigued with the deluge of bad news that they get on the news? Are there any mental health strategies that you recommend to people to deal with perhaps a current reality that's not as hospitable as it was 3 weeks ago?
Sure. Number one is taking a social media break or detoxing from social media.
Yeah.
I think we all know by now that the way the algorithms are set up, if you are viewing content or subscribe to channels that feed you the doom and gloom, you'll get more of that. So just taking a step back, unsubscribing, and not, spending time on the sites that feed you negativity so that you don't get into that negative feedback loop. That's one thing to do. It's almost like cleansing your mindset, if you will. And then secondly, something that I do, I actually have a separate journal that I call my emotional health journal. And I write in that journal two things primarily. One, what I'm grateful for, because that mentally lifts your spirits when someone is just kind or polite to you. During this trip, when I went to the Uncle Nearest Distillery, several gentlemen just got the door for me. And of course, I always smile and say thank you. And I said, it's so great to see that chivalry isn't dead.
So
right?
You weren't offended that a man grabbed the door for you?
Of course not. Absolutely
okay,
not.
I just wanted to make sure, because these days you don't know if somebody's going to be offended if you open the door.
That does not offend me at all. I just consider it being pleasant, courteous, and civil to your fellow American. Right. The other thing that I journal, in addition to what I'm grateful for, is how I'm feeling in certain moments. So I have been waking up earlier and working out. And what I've noticed is that right after my workouts, even though I may be sweating and running through some of them, I feel better. I actually feel more energetic. So I'm making notes about how I feel better after I work out and keeping that in mind. And then when do I feel down, or when do I feel more exhausted and tired, so that I can make notes of that, avoid the things as much as possible that bring me down, and do more of the things that lift me up, if you will.
I love that, Dr. Kela. That is so positive. You are a beacon of light, hope, resilience, and peace to those of us that are looking to get more of all four of those things into our lives. That said, Dr. Kela, you, in addition to being an author, you actually have aspirations of bringing some programming to the television landscape. Is that correct, Dr. Kela?
Yes, I do. And we'll see how that works out. I've done a few speaking engagements in the past to young people and to a college audience, actually, for some students at a local college who were interested in the medical professions. So I'm hoping to do more speaking engagements, and, that way I can make more connections with our youth. I notice that sometimes parents, of course, they want the best for their kids and give them advice, but I don't know, they may resist what their parents are saying, or have the feeling that, oh, mom and dad, you guys aren't keeping up with the times, and they may be more receptive to an objective third party sharing information with them in a more personal way, in a way that's where they just feel that they're able to engage with you in a way that they're not with their parents, because you don't have that, you're not that authority figure, right? You're an authority in your subject matter, but you're not a direct authority figure who has the power to punish them or cut them off financially if you don't do what they say. So, yeah.
Okay. In addition to all of that, Dr. Kela has her own show. Can you tell us about your show, and can you tell us about the type of guests that you have on your show?
Well, I'm glad you asked. The name of my show is Let's Talk Teens, formerly known as Let's Talk Thursdays. And every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, typically across all of my social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, I discuss various topics. And so this week and last week, I was interviewing my sister, Nia Henry. And so check that out. She wrote an article that was published in the online magazine called Medium. And it was about, the subject matter was about how, as women, and Black women in particular, we need to step back to rest, allow, and be. So this week will be part 2 of that interview. Now, I've interviewed a number of people over the years, and I really tried to feature some of these teenage girls for whom I advocate on the program. I've also done some more personal shows. So last month, I featured a series for my trip that I took to South Africa. And then back in June of last year, I took a trip to West Africa. And so I featured that as well. So sometimes I depart from the medical stuff and the mental health stuff and reveal a little bit more about me.
I love that, Dr. Kela. You know what I'm saying? And I will say, for those of y'all that have not had a chance to see Dr. Kela's series about South Africa, I felt like I was there in South Africa, chilling and eating the best food and being treated so good in South Africa. So that said, I think this is a good opportunity, Dr. Kela. Tell everybody what your Instagram is if they want to follow you.
I am Dr. Kela Henry. That's DrKelaHenry across all my social media platforms.
At Dr. Kela Henry. Is that what we're saying?
Yes. But y'all can just call me Dr. Kela.
Dr. Kela is, let me tell y'all, a force of nature. She reads and has opinions that have been thought-provoking for 30 years. And I'm sure that into the next millennium, they will still be talking about Dr. Kela Henry and what she did here on this plane. Dr. Kela, it is Super Bowl Sunday, and so we are going to procure some nutrients to sustain us throughout this contest. Do you have a prediction on the score, Dr. Kela?
No, I don't have a prediction on the score. I don't dig that deeply into it. I am just rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles so that they will bring the trophy home.
Dr. Kela, do you have an opinion about Beyonce winning the country Grammy this year? Indifferent, happy, sad, indifferent?
Completely indifferent. That
You didn't listen to the album?
matter? No.
Didn't listen to Cowboy Carter?
No, I didn't.
Jolene.
Go
Hey,
ahead,
she's playing Jolene now.
Y'all, there are just more important things for me to be concerned about. I'm not.
What you listening to, Dr. Kela?
You know, you're going to laugh.
I ain't
but
gonna laugh.
I was listening. No. Do you remember the Hidden Beach recordings?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
So I was listening to that Unwrapped series, disc number 3, that's got I Know What You Want, Lean Back, Sorry, Miss Jackson, all those songs, because I just love those jazz interpretations of hip hop songs. You don't have any of the vulgarity, all of the bass, the beats, the grooves, and then you got the jazz layered on top of it. That is what I've been listening to lately. And that's another thing. When it comes back to my emotional journal, I notice how I feel so good when listening to that.
For those of y'all that don't know, brief history lesson. During the time that we were in Philly, which is late 90s, mid-2000s, Philadelphia was the epicenter, which is another reason we root for the Eagles. Not only did we live there, Philadelphia was the epicenter of what they call neo-soul. And the girl Jill Scott, who we know, in addition to Kindred and the Family Soul, if you know anything at all, they were signed to a label called Hidden Beach. And Hidden Beach at the time, at the height of it all, dropped these recordings called the Hidden Beach Recordings, where they had musicians come in and do beautiful jazz and hip-hop instrumental versions of the songs that were banging at that time. If y'all are in your 20s or 30s and haven't listened to Hidden Beach joints, go whatever your streaming platform of choice is, go listen to Hidden Beach. And also, I want to say, if you are the executives of Hidden Beach right now, holla at me. I want to interview you. Also, Fawn Weaver, I need you. Get off your mega yacht. Come holla at your boy. I want to interview you too, Fawn Weaver. Because me and my family up in Southeast Tennessee, we have purchased a number of Uncle Nearest bottles that have gone perfectly with the Frankie Beverly and Bobby Womack that we listen to at our gatherings. All right? Dr. Kela, can I say thank you for taking your time out on your Super Bowl Sunday to holler at your boy and to commiserate before this game kicks off? Can we just give Dr. Henry a little props and some applause? Can we do that, y'all? You know what I'm saying? We just give Dr. Henry some applause. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what she deserves. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Kela, keep doing the work. What's next for Dr. Kela?
What's next is, of course, this book and growing my social media following. And since you've always been a great supporter, go ahead and get Michaela one of those Everything is Possible t-shirts for
you already know
young ladies in your life who you want to inspire.
Do you have some evening wear for those of us that have significant others that says everything is possible?
Any evening wear yet, but I will shout out a company called Bamblu, BAMBLU, Black woman owned, who has some wonderful pajamas and sleepwear.
Yeah. Okay, Bamblu. We're going to check Bamblu out. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Kela, thank you so much, girl. Go Eagles.
Yes.
If you know anything about the city of Philadelphia, 676 King of Prussia, Reading Terminal, Front Street, Delaware Avenue, Main Street, Walnut, Wissahickon Avenue, Main Line, Lancaster Avenue, Bluebell. We all about that Philly. Germantown, Mount Airy, Sharpnack. Y'all know what it is. We lived it. We ain't read about it in the book. Kela Henry, Dr. Kela, thank you so much, girl.
Thanks for having me, Taj.
Oh, yeah. Also, we were there when Iverson was on top of the game. The great Allen Iverson. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what it is. Dr. Kela, let go Eagles.
Yes, go Eagles. Hope they pull it out today.
All right.
Bye now.